Radha Madhava Jaya Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. We are going to read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14. Yes. Chapter 14, verse 26. Mam chayo vyadicharena
Mam chayo vyadicharena
Bhakti yogena sevate
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Sagunam samatityaitam
Sagunam samatithyayitam
Brahma bhuyaya kalpate
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
Mam chayo vyadicharena
Mam chayo vyadicharena
Bhakti yogena sevate
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Sagunam samatityaitam
Sagunam samatithyayitam
Brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
Somebody wants to chant the verse?
Mam chayo vyadicharena
Mam chayo vyadicharena
Bhakti yogena sevate
Bhakti yogena sevate
Sagunam samatithyayitam
Sagunam samatithyayitam
Brahma bhuyaya kalpate
Brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Mam
Mam
unto me,
unto me
cha
cha
also,
also
yaha
Yaha
person who,
person who
avyavicharena
Avyadicharena.
without fail,
Without fail.
bhakti yogena
Bhakti Yogena.
by devotional service,
By devotional service.
sevate
Sevate.
renders service,
Renders service.
saha
Saha.
he
He.
guna
Guna.
the modes of material nature,
The modes of material nature.
samatitya
Samatithya.
transcending,
Transcending.
etam
Etam
all this,
All this.
Brahma bhuyaya
Brahma bhuyaya
elevated to the Brahman platform,
Elevated to the Brahma platform.
kalpate
kalpate
becomes.
Becomes.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charnavrinda Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Purport. This verse is a reply to Arjuna's third question. What is the means of attaining to the transcendental position? As explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of the modes of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as Bhakti Yoga, always acting for Krishna. This includes not only Krishna, but his different planetary expansions, such as Rama and Narayana. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any of the forms of Krishna or of his plenary expansions is considered to be transcendentally situated. One should also note that all the forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal. Such personalities of Godhead are omnipotent and omniscient, and they possess all transcendental qualities. So if one engages himself in the service of Krishna or his plenary expansions with unfailing determination, although these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome, one can overcome them easily. This has already been explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto Krishna at once surmounts the influence of the modes of material nature. To be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire equality with Krishna. The Lord says that His nature is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, and the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme, as gold particles are part of a gold mine. Thus, the living entity, in his spiritual position, is as good as gold, as good as Krishna in quality. The difference of individuality continues, otherwise, there will be no question of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, and the activity of exchange of love between the Lord and the devotee is there. Therefore, the individuality of two persons is present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual person. Otherwise, there will be no meaning to Bhakti Yoga. If one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahman, or freed from all material contamination. It is said in the Vedic literature, Brahmaiva sam Brahmapi eti. One can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. This means that one must qualitatively become one with Brahman. By attainment of Brahman, one does not lose his eternal Brahman identity as an individual soul. Mamchayo vyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sadhanam samadhityaitam brahma bhuya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Hare Krishna. So, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that one who, to be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire equality with Krishna. So we want to become close to Krishna. This is the goal of Krishna consciousness, to develop our dormant relationship with Krishna and with the Vaishnavas, right? And this is called rasa in Sanskrit. And Rupa Goswami defines rasa as the sweet taste that you get when you eat ripened fruit. This is rasa. And this is compared to the sweet taste of the relationships between Krishna and the devotees. So when we talking about the goal of Krishna consciousness, it is to experience this taste as the goal, as the primary goal and the goal of human life. To be happy in our connection with Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that there are three types of rasas. Okay, now this is the general description of rasa. It's the sweet taste that you get from a relationship. But there are three types of this rasa. And the first one is called Parthiva rasa. That means the taste you get when the senses, they connect with the sense objects. You eat rasagula, and the experience continues until you eat the rasagula. Then after rasagula is gone in your stomach, then you can only remember. It is very intense, but it is very short. Next level is called Svagya rasa, which means the taste from relationship between individual souls, between living entities. And this is the taste they enjoy in Svarga. They enjoy in heaven. They enjoy, of course, the taste of connecting the senses with the sense objects, but they also enjoy this lasting happiness and pleasure which comes from real human, well, they're not humans, they're demigods, real interactions between living entities. Real in a sense that as much as it can be real in the material world, of course, because heaven is still part of the material world. And on the level of human beings, on our level, this is varnashrama. This is experienced when we follow the rules of varnashrama dharma. Because rasa, this taste of sweet taste, which is of course material, this sweet taste in human interactions, human relationships, can be tasted actually only when we follow our duties. And these duties are defined by Krishna in the Vedas, specifically in the Dharma Shastras. For example, the relationship between parents and children can be tasted properly only when the parents and the children also follow their duty. If the mother, for example, instead of taking care of her child, she just goes to the spa for the whole day and leaves the child to the, how do you call this? Yeah? They hire this babysitter. Yeah. I mean, I guess this is required sometimes because it is very dynamic nowadays. This life in the Western countries. But if you do this, if the mother does this regularly, then she won't be able to actually taste, experience the proper relationship and interaction with her child. So this is higher. This Svargya rasa is higher than the Parthiva rasa, the first rasa that comes from sense objects connected with senses. It is higher because it lasts longer and it's higher in quality. Let's say you may sometimes, I have sometimes overheard, by chance, a conversation between, let's say, sometimes you can hear these young girls, they're talking. And they're discussing what the young girls are talking usually. In the spiritual and in the material world, it's the same. They talk about young boys. So you can hear, oh, my boyfriend, my previous boyfriend, he was like this and he was like that. And just like this, he was this and this and this, such and such quality, such and such misbehavior, and there is no emotion. They just state it like this. Or one friend was telling me, also on the bus station, he overheard again 2 young girls, they were talking, and one of them was saying, but you said that you love him. You told me that this is like the goal of your life. You were like in love with this boy. And then the other said, yeah, but I don't love him anymore. I just don't feel like this anymore. And so this kind of relationship, which is based on, or rasa, which is based just on senses touching sense objects, doesn't last for a long time. And for example, you can also see these veterans, from the war. Still, you can still see them from the Second World War, and they still come. Some of them are still alive. They still come together on 9th of May in some countries, and they dress, in their uniform, and they put all these medals, and they come together and they talk and they remember what they have done for their country, and still this brings tears in their eyes, because, and this has been done like 40 years ago. Why? Because they have done it with the risk of their life, following their duty. Therefore, this brings this rasa. It's higher rasa. It lasts longer. And this Parthiva rasa lasts just for like this. And then, he was like this, he was like that. Next one will be like that. Nobody cares. So these two are material rasas, although one is higher than the previous one. And the third one is rasa, the rasa that is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, in other books by the Acharyas. These are these relationships that we want to awaken and to develop, to deepen them, the relationships between the soul, us, and Krishna, the spiritual rasa, the spiritual relationship. And this is the most important thing for Krishna. Because here in Purport Srila Prabhupada several times he stresses, he's again and again saying that he cannot we cannot have relationship with Brahman, with the Parabrahman, with Krishna, unless we become Brahman. Friendship, relationship is possible when there is some common ground. You cannot be friends with somebody if there is no something common between you. There should be some common taste. You should like certain things, same things, similar things. You should have similar mood. Somebody's looking through the window. Haribo. Welcome. Hare Krishna. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada is stressing again and again, we have to develop the same spiritual nature. That means we have to get rid of all these contaminations. In order to associate with Krishna, one should be free from material contamination. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. In the same way, if you want to associate with Krishna, we have to develop certain qualities. Fortunately, these qualities are inside, they are already there. We just have to remember them and awaken them. And we should see, if we want to be friends with Krishna, to be close to him, we should see what are his tastes and preferences. What is the most important for Krishna? Obviously, it is not the fact that he is God. Because otherwise, we will not have Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita. We would have just Narayana in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, because this is the form of God where he is actually enjoying his position as God. But obviously for Krishna this is not the most important thing, otherwise we will not have these pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna is not God. He doesn't want to be. Krishna doesn't have problems with the fact that he is God and he is the supreme enjoyer. He is quite okay. He is already perfect and perfectly happy, Atmaram. But he can be more perfect and most perfect. And the most perfect he is when he doesn't want to remember that he is God. So if this controlling and enjoying is not so important for Krishna, then that means we should also not place so much faith and attention to these things. For us, for us also, it's supposed to be as followers of Krishna, as people, persons who are trying to get closer to him, we should also try to develop the same mood. And the mood is of desire to develop relationships. This is the most important. And the most important thing for Krishna is his relationship with his devotees. Therefore, he has these names, characteristics like Bhavagrahi Janardana, or the other one was Bhakta Vatsala. Okay, he's very kind, very merciful to his devotees. So the desire to control and enjoy shouldn't be so important for us. Like it is common, it's like a cliche also in the material life. You have family, for example, and then husband gets a chance for promotion. He can develop his career, but in order to do this, he has to go to different city. Okay, and then the wife doesn't want this. So what is considered superior nowadays? I don't know. I'm asking now. What is considered superior decision? the husband goes and leaves the wife and develops his career and becomes very successful, or he sacrifices this, but he wants to protect and develop his relationships with his family. So what do you think? What is the proper decision in such circumstance? What is higher? It's not a tricky question. Okay, Mataji thinks it's the relationship. I agree with this, but somebody else thinks differently. Anyway, I don't know what is nowadays, what people think in the West. I hope that they will still think that protecting the relationship is more important. So for Krishna it's definitely more important, and we see this so many times in the pastimes of Krishna. For example, when Maharaja Ambarisha is not cursed but attacked by this demon created by this great sage Durvasa. And then Sudarshan Chakra appears immediately, and then, well, first, okay, this demon, he approaches Maharaja Ambarisha, and Maharaja Ambarisha doesn't move at all, first of all. He is not afraid. Then Sudarshan Chakra appears, and then he destroys the demon immediately. And then not only this, but Sudarshan starts burning Durvasa Muni, and not only that, but he starts chasing him all over the whole universe. And then Durvasa goes to different deities, Shiva, Brahma, Shiva, and then he goes to Narayana, and he begs for mercy, and then Narayana tells him, "You came here because you think I'm independent, right? You went to Brahma and to Shiva, and they all told you, sorry, we cannot help you because we are not independent. There is the Supreme Lord Narayana, only He is independent. We cannot do anything to protect you. So you came because you thought I'm independent, but I'm not independent. I depend on my devotees." And Durvasa, for a long time, because they have conversation, for a long time he doesn't get the point. He thinks, well, we have to establish here who is right and who is wrong. So at the end he's asking Narayana, the Supreme Lord, okay, my dear Lord, but here we have two things. We have the Brahmanas, right? I'm the Brahmana, and we have Dvadashi, because Ambarisha Maharaj, he wanted to follow his fast, and he didn't want to break the fast on Dvadashi in proper way. So he wanted to keep the Dvadashi, apparently, with the risk of offending the great Brahmana Durvasa Muni. Okay, so Durvasa, in his mind, this was still the problem. So he asked again, so what is right here? We have the Brahmanas and we have the Dvadashi, which is superior? And then the Lord told him, I don't know. You go and ask Ambarish Maharaj. He'll tell you. But don't be ashamed, my dear Brahmana, because you have to ask an inferior Kshatriya about Dharma. Don't be ashamed, I also don't know the answer to this question. I do whatever the devotees say. If they say that this is superior, that's what the reality is for me. This is my opinion. So finally, at the end, Durvasa Muni understands that it is a question of relationship. It is not a question of rules and regulations, who is right and who is wrong. The ultimate reality are the relationship between Krishna and the devotees, this rasa, the spiritual taste. And we see also in the spiritual world when there are these wonderful pastimes between Krishna and the cowherd boys and the gopis. Everything is used to enhance rasa. For example, when Krishna is joking with his friends, with the gopis, they are twisting constantly his words, but they don't do it like speculating. They are using knowledge. They know the meaning of the words, but this is knowledge. this is used in the material world to impress others. I have knowledge, I know so many shlokas, I know Sanskrit, or so we, the conditioned souls, we're using this energy of the Lord, the knowledge, the Jnana Shakti, we're using it to put ourselves in the center. In the spiritual world, they're using the same knowledge in its pure spiritual form, only to give more pleasure to Krishna. And Krishna reciprocates by being fully under the control of his pure devotees. It's something which is very hard to understand, to imagine. But Krishna is his two main characteristics are that his heart melts from the prema of his devotees, and that he is controlled by the love of his devotees. He never contradicts these two main qualities. He can contradict all of his other qualities, but he never goes against these two. And there are so many examples of this. You know the story when Krishna tried to tease Rukmini because he wanted to enjoy her anger. And we all know that Krishna is Satya Sankalpa. That means his desires are fulfilled automatically. Whatever he wants, his energies, they are always around him and very eager to render service. So whenever they just notice, they feel that Krishna has some desire, they are like immediately fulfilling this desire. So each Shakti, the Shakti of the desire of the Lord is the supreme Shakti. And in this case, with the pastime with Rukmini, when Krishna wanted to make her angry, there is apparently some contradiction because Rukmini didn't get angry. So why Krishna didn't fulfill his desire? His Satya Sankalpa, his Icha Shakti is the supreme energy. But Rukmini didn't get angry. Why? And the Acharyas explain because when there is because this Rukmini's love for Krishna is very special. She's always in a very submissive mood, and her prema defeated Krishna's desire to get her angry. It's always like this. When there is contradiction between the desire of Krishna and the desire of his pure devotees, guess who wins always? Yes, the devotees. The other example is, of course there are many examples, but another one which is mentioned by Jiva Goswami is the Damodara Lila, when Mother Yashoda binds Krishna, and then she tries to bind Krishna, and she couldn't because there was two fingers, the rope was 2 fingers short all the time. And then at the end, and Krishna had different desires. Krishna actually didn't want to be bound by his mom because he wanted to play. So, because his Icha Shakti immediately noticed the desire of Krishna, she supplied these ropes with enough land that Krishna cannot be bound. But then, when his mother Yashoda persisted, then she won at the end. She actually bound Krishna. So there is always like this. So we are speaking all these things because we want to develop this mentality, this attitude that the relationships are the most important things. Only then, and specifically the relationships with Krishna and the devotees, only then we will be able to come closer to Krishna. Krishna in one Narayana, Vishnu, Krishna, in one verse, in one place in the ninth canto of Bhagavatam, he says that Naham Atmanamashya Semat Bhakta Sadhubir Vina Shriyam Chatyantikim Brahman. Without my devotees, I don't want to enjoy my opulences. Basically, that's what he says. So imagine, you get, everybody has some dream in his mind, something about like certain situation, you want to go for vacation in a certain place, or you want a specific car, whatever, everybody, a house. And imagine you get this thing. And imagine what you will do. You have choice. You can get this thing that you want, but without your friends, the dear ones that you love. Or you don't get it. So what do you do? So until we don't hesitate about this point, that I would not go there without the devotees. I don't want to enjoy this on my own. Until we don't have this firm resolution, we don't have to think about this even. We don't have to, okay, what to do now? Then we cannot get closer to Krishna, because that's Krishna's mood. He doesn't want to enjoy without his devotees. And in this sense, Krishna is he's inviting us to become pure devotees, because he's pure devotee of his devotees. Only because of this. Not because he's some kind of tyrant that he wants to impose some rules. You have to think about me 24/7, because otherwise you go to hell. No, Krishna is always conscious of his devotees. In the Bhagavatam it is described that every single thing that Krishna does is to give pleasure to his devotees. He doesn't do anything for his own pleasure. So until we get to this level of purity and reciprocation, until then we won't be able to get closer to Krishna, not because he's some tyrant, but because we cannot actually, as Srila Prabhupada explains here, we're not qualified, because in order to associate with Brahman, you have to be Brahman yourself. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. You have some comments or questions? Yes, Matanga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you, since you described the different types of rasas, the first two which are material, and it seems that most of the people in this world in which we are living, they are mostly experiencing this kind of taste, material taste from sensual things and relationships. And most of the people, they don't have information of the transcendental position and the transcendental taste. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to go out and bring this knowledge to people, this higher understanding that there is something more than just eat, sleep, drink, work, and then die. So how can we convince people which are seemingly so much attached to their own position and mundane taste, how can we convince them that there is something much sweeter and much higher than just this?
Yes, first of all, people are mostly in the first Parthiva rasa. That's mostly what they do. They are trying to attain pleasure just by connecting the senses with the sense objects. And they deal with other people not as individualities, but as objects also. So that's why it's such a disaster, the relationship between people nowadays. Because we sometimes also, we deal with the personalities as just objects that are supposed to give pleasure to our senses. We just move them around like this. Fit it and forget it. There was such a advertisement for some something for the kitchen. You buy it, you fit it and forget about it. It's just part of your plan. You just arrange all the personalities around you exactly the way you want, and you just enjoy them. So how do we convince people? First of all, we have to be convinced ourselves, and we have to, at least to some extent, to experience this higher taste. Second, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that when you try to convince somebody, there is no need of very lengthy explanations, because if he's ready, he will be convinced by a few sentences. if he's not ready, even if you speak a lot and spend lots of time, he won't be convinced. So we just present it the best possible way according to the time, place, circumstance, according to the personality we're talking to. We're convinced, we're relishing this higher taste, at least to some extent, of course not fully. And then just pray Paramatma, Krishna, to inspire the person from inside. That's what I think. Do you have something else to add to this? Maybe? Okay. Grant Rachima Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur.
Bandhava, Bandhava, Bandhava,
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.